happened while I was writing this book, and it was really kind of cool, and I've known this kind of here now and then as I've been writing for these last 22 years, but what really occurred to me for the last few books, as I've had to make these changes with the Dark Elf, is that this whole thing for me has really been a personal journey. And you don't always think of it that way, but now I am. And I'm beginning to understand that what these characters in these books are for me is they're just my way of being able to ask all the big questions. You know, what's the point of it all? Why are we here? What's the right thing to do? Why do you do the right thing? What happens when you're not here anymore? All of those questions. My characters have allowed me to ask those questions as we've gone along. It's been an incredible journey. And it also occurred to me this year that most people coming to my books now for the first time, they're picking up the Crystal Shard, their homeland, to start the Dark Elf series, are younger than the books. And that's kind of a weird feeling. So what else this year? The other thing that happened this year, a couple of months ago, a book came out called The Bear. And a few years ago, I wrote a series called Demon Wars, where I described my own world. I created my own world in a 7-book series. It's My Middle Earth, My Shanna, or My Forgotten Realms, if you will. And my plan was create the world in 7 books, and then go back and write more personal stories set in this other fantasy world, kind of like the Dark Elf books, personal stories. And so I did. I went back and I wrote a book a few years ago called The Highwayman, and I really loved this character. He's a very unique hero. He's got a different perspective on things. I wouldn't call him a reluctant hero as much as I would call him I don't care enough to be a hero, but he really does, or does he? And that's the question that he's had to ask himself through 4 books. So we had the Highwayman, then we had the Ancient, then we had the Dame, and now the Bear, and his story is done. And I will go back to Demon Wars in the future, I think, but with new characters, not with him. His story is told, and had a great time telling it. The other thing coming out, I have another series ending this year. See, I can end series. No one believes that. I have another series ending this year. In early November, The Sentinels comes out. And that's the last book in the Stone of Tomorrow trilogy, which was an absolute blast for me because I wrote it with my son. And the Stone of Tomorrow books are Dark Elf books. They take place around the time of the Halfling's Gem and the Legacy in there. And it tells the story of Maimon and Joan. They're 2 of my son's characters, but my characters are always like right there. And what was great about writing this series was I got to rewrite some of my favorite scenes from the old books from a different perspective. Like there's one scene in the Halfling's Gem where we have a dwarf on a flaming chariot coming into a pirate ship. I got to write that from somebody watching it who had no idea what was going on. It was very cool. So I had a lot of fun with that. That series is now over. We won't be doing any more with that character right now. So I can finish series. Early next year, the Best of the Realms R.A. Salvatore comes out. It's a short story collection of all the short stories I've written in the Forgotten Realms. And what's great about that is I got to go back and do like a full-page intro to each story, what I was thinking, why I was writing the story, what I was trying to accomplish, and how it tied to the books. And it's got like the first notch, which was the story about Bruno when he was a kid, his first fight in the Underdark, in Mithril Hall, before they woke up the dragon. And I've got a story called The Dowry, which was in The Highwayman actually, but it's a Forgotten Realms story, and there's a bunch of Artemis and Triri stories in there. So it should be fun. Another new thing coming next year, I'm doing a 6-book comic book series with IDW, and they're New Drizzt Adventures, which shocked me when Wizards of the Coast said they wanted to do this because they've never wanted to do anything like this before, but sure enough, we're doing it. 6 books. I'm writing these with Gino as well. They take place kind of a fork in the road at the end of Gauntlebrim. It's a different story I wanted to tell at the end of Gauntlebrim. And I'm halfway through the next book in the Neverwinter series. It's a little more than halfway, actually. I think it's going to be called Neverwinter Wood, but I'm not sure yet. Titles are always funny things. Right now, that's the working title. And one more thing coming next year. 4 years ago, I was sitting in my house in August doing an e-signing for one of my books. We do e-signings through the websites. website where you can buy the books and get them personalized or whatever. My web guy orders the books, puts them in his van, drives up, and we spend the day signing books, basically. And we're doing an e-signing, the phone rings. I pick up the phone, and the voice on the other end says, "Can I talk to Bob Salvatore?" And I said, "Speaking." And he said, "Oh man, I can't believe I'm talking to you. You're my favorite author. This is Kurt Schilling." I'm a Red Sox fan, forever and ever. I'm a Boston kid, you know. And I'm like, "Yeah, right." And my wife was laughing at me because his publicist had called earlier. It was really Kurt Schilling. And he said to me that he was getting ready to retire, but he didn't want to go sell used cars or insurance. He wanted to do something he loved. And what Kurt loves above all else, other than his family and baseball, are video games. So he was starting a video game company. And he asked me if I would come in and create the world for his massive multiplayer online role-playing, game. And so I did. I came in and I got my Seven Swords group together and we created this fantasy world with this 10,000-year history. And we've been working on an MMO out in Massachusetts for 4 years. A year and a half ago, we bought a company called Big Huge Games. And they're known for Rise of Nations and Catan. They're very well known for real-time strategy games. But they were working on an RPG engine, to do a game like Baldur's Gate or Oblivion. In fact, they hired Ken Ralston and Mark Nelson, who were the guys that did Elder Scrolls Morrowind and Elder Scrolls Oblivion. They worked for BHG. Now they work with us. So we took our IP, this world I had created, and we brought it down there, and we put it on their engine. And the first product from 38 Studios, Big Huge Games, is called Reckoning. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. And it's an RPG for the PlayStation 3, for the Xbox, for the PC. And I have to tell you something, it is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm not kidding. I was in playtesting it the other day, and I was blown away. And I didn't build that game. I don't build games, I just make worlds. But, so, a lot going on. That's kind of the FAQ that brings you up to date on what I'm doing. I'm not busy or anything. Who's got a question for me?
When's that coming out?
Supposed to raise your hand. Reckoning, they're saying next fall. There are a lot of decisions they're going to have to make because, if there's something else coming out, like right now, Lord of the Rings Online is coming out. Well, so is Cataclysm for World of Warcraft. So Lord of the Rings Online is going to get hammered because everybody's going to go play Cataclysm. So you have to, there's a lot of decisions. They don't know exactly when yet, but this is slated for next fall. It's in production. I mean, the game's rolling along. It looks incredible. Combat system is amazing. The storylines are all in place. It's ready to go. Pretty cool. They've got several hours of gameplay already, but they're going to have hundreds of hours. It's going to be open world RPG, so there are paths you will take for the main storyline if you choose to, but you can just go wherever you want and kill things, which is kind of fun too. Because I can't give anything away about it. The trailer is online if you go to reckoningthegame.com. I wrote my first book. I wrote it longhand in a spiral notebook because I thought that's how writers did it. By candlelight, because I thought that's how writers did it. With Fleetwood Mac's Tusker in the background. After 6 months, my hand was like this. My eyes were full of smoke, and I was ready to kill Stevie Nicks. But that's how I did it. And I couldn't type. I mean, when I was in high school in the 70s, you took either business course or college course. And if you were going college course, they didn't teach you how to type.